Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie. So, psychopathology, as defined by Kring and Johnson in Abnormal Psychology 2021, is the nature, development, and treatment of psychological disorders. So, my Christian worldview wouldn't define that differently, but it does affect how I see the nature, development, and treatment of psychological disorders in a different light from the secular. So my Christian worldviews knows that because humans sinned, we live in a fallen world, and with that fallen world comes a sinful nature, death, destruction, disorders, disasters, and abnormality. So my Christian worldview will also inform how the treatment is discussed, and it informs the way I think about holistic health, about repentance, about forgiveness, and ultimately about the hope that we all have in Jesus, all of which affect treatment. So the Bible doesn't speak directly about mental illness per se. Kring and Johnson do point out that Jesus healed the demon-possessed man in Mark 5:1-20. The Bible is, however, filled with people who were overcome with a variety of emotions, with guilt, grief, sadness, anger. So we see that in David and Job and Elijah. But perhaps my favorite example would be that of Hagar and Sarah in Genesis 16. So it tells us the story of how Sarah was overwhelmed with anger and just in distress over being barren, and really filled with a lot of jealousy as Hagar became pregnant with Abraham's child. And so Sarah began to abuse Hagar, and Hagar could not take the abuse any longer, so she ran away into the desert, and God met her there. And Hagar was the first one in the Bible to be able to give God a name, and she gave him the name El Roi, the God who sees. And it is the God who sees. It is through his lens that we need to see abnormality. And the secular see abnormality differently in the nature, development, and treatment aspects as well. So most psychological studies and education today are based on secular views. So we look at even the DSM-5, and that is used in Christian settings and secular settings. There's no religion attached to the DSM-5. But the secular worldview would view many aspects of health differently. For example, a healthy secular marriage is going to look different than a healthy Christian marriage because a biblical marriage is based off of Christ and the church. A healthy sex life is going to look different in a Christian worldview versus a secular worldview. There is an article called Cognitive Restructuring of Psychology, the Case for a Vertical and Horizontal Integrated Embedded Curriculum Model for Islamic Psychology 2020. Talks about how most psychological teaching is secular. And while this article was addressing a desire for more Islamic psychological teaching tailored to the belief of Muslims, the desire is there because there is a worldview difference similar to the secular and the Christian. And the Muslims are feeling it too. And namely, there's just a big desire in that article to integrate the health of the soul into Islamic psychology. And I think Christians have a same desire to integrate the health of a soul. We care about the soul's health. So overall, both the Christian and the secular can study the DSM, could read Kring and Johnson's Abnormal Psychology and be learning the same things and agree on a lot. However, worldviews have a big effect on how we approach psychopathology.